All right, we are back for part two on the Scotch yoke mechanism. We're going to continue to build. In this case, I want to start. We ended the last video where we had created these two parts. Now, notice at this point they are still not really joined together. So let me hit the back and put that back. Place. So we need to create a relationship between these two parts. And the way we're going to do that is with what we call a joint. So here in the assembly, so if I click and left click on assembly, we're going to come down here. We've got choices here of joint, duplicate with joint, as joint, joint origin, rigid group, tangent relationship. So I'm just going to kind of quick go into the joint feature here. Now notice if I have different motions, we have a rigid, a revolute, slider, cylindrical, pin slot, planar, and ball. We'll kind of go through these in different training exercises as we go. So, but for right now, the joint that we're going to use is what's called an as-built joint. So we've got everything in place here. So we're going to go and we're going to create an as-built joint. Now, the first thing it wants to know is the components. So, well, we're going to connect this component to that component. So we've got those two. Now notice this is giving us the motion type of rigid. So if we preview this motion, that locks everything in place. That is not what we want. So we have a, in this case, it's going to be a revolute here with this motion. So, and we say it also wants to know an origin point. So the origin point in this case is what it's going to revolve around. So we're just going to select the axis here. And now notice this is going to allow that rotation about that hole. So we've got that. So let's take a look at it. Remember, we created the plug here, and this is our cam position. So we basically want this cam to be able to rotate around that part. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, our next position then, what we're going to do next is create a dowel pin that goes into this hole. So let's come back. Since I don't need the housing to do this, I'm going to turn the eyeball off on the housing so that I can concentrate just on the actual part itself. And in this case, when I kind of come to do this, I'm going to be drawing on this surface. So let's go ahead and say create a sketch, select the surface. I'm going to select that plane. Now, notice this says capture or revert component positions. So we can just say either way, if we capture it, it's going to stay right there. If we revert, it's going to kind of go back to where it should be. So, and again, on this particular sketch, I'm just going to create, we'll go through and project here. I just need that circle. So let's go ahead and hit click OK. My sketch is finished. So let's extrude this out. So let's click on there. And in this case, I want this dowel pin to be 1 inch long. So I'll go -1 here with this. Notice again in the operation, so we can say join, cut, intersect, new body. Again, this is going to be a new component. We're going to make this a dowel pin. So I'm going to say new component and click OK. Now, a dowel pin also either has a chamfer or a radius on the end. So we're going to go ahead here and put a fillet on this edge and that edge, and that's going to be a 30 thousandths fillet. So we'll sit there and say OK. So we've got the fillet going on there. And again, this came up with component 3, so we're going to go ahead and rename this. So this is going to be a 1/4 by 1 inch dowel pin. So we're going to just name this 1/4 by 1 inch dowel pin. So hit enter to kind of save that, and we need to assign this some material as well. So let's go ahead, hit physical material. Let's bring this up. Now a dowel pin is generally metal, so let's go back into our metal material here, and we're going to find it's not going to be aluminum. This is going to be type of steel. So if we kind of come down here and we got different types of steels, usually it's not a great type of steel, you can kind of cross-reference this. It's going to be somewhere here in the 1000 series probably. So for us, we're just going to go with, I think this 1020 right here will be fine. So let's move that over and assign that steel to that. We're good with the dowel pin, and now we got that. Again, so our joint, so we've created the component, but we haven't kind of created the relationship. So let's make that relationship. Let me hit undo to put that back in. We'll say, again, this is going to be a duplicate with joint. So I'll select the component. Let me cancel out of this. So let's try this again. So this is going to be an as-built joint. Sorry, chose the wrong one. As-built joint. We'll select the dowel pin and we'll select the pin. Notice now this is going to be a revolute. This is going to be a rigid. So we can just say preview this. So that's going to be a rigid joint, but we don't want that to move. So I can sit there and do that. Now I will mention in this case we could also make this a slider. So if I have to kind of snap in here, we can kind of select that. Notice how that would kind of go in and out as a slider, but that's not what we want on this particular one. We definitely want to make this rigid. So we'll go ahead and click OK for that. And that takes care of our dowel rod. So let's turn on our housing again. Come back up here to the top. So now at this point, I want to rotate this around to 90 degrees because I'm going to use some information here to also generate a new part off of that and make this kind of come into play. So let's go ahead. We're going to create the sketch, and as I move around, so we're going to create the sketch on this surface. So I'm going to click there. Now let's just go ahead and say capture position on this one. So we don't want it to move. We want to kind of go, and I'm going to create a in this case it's going to be a slot. So we'll say a center to center slot. So I'm going to say I'm going to go from here over to here. Now I'm going to back up for just a second. So let me escape out of this sketch for a minute. So I can kind of show you this while I'm in the sketch mode. Notice what we're really kind of doing is we're going to create a cam follower more. Yeah, I do need to back out of the sketch. So we're going to create a cam follower, and we have to understand and know what the distance is between these two. So let's kind of go in as we were rotating. So sorry, I'm kind of, let me get this back in place. So we would basically be rotating, and we got to know the distance. So I'm in this position. This cam follower, as we move this around, it's going to basically give us some motion. So we have to know what our range is, and we need to know the distance from here to there, or at a complete 180 degrees. Now, if you remember, we went back and we need to kind of know the distance between centers here. So we can kind of come up here to our inspection and let's measure. I want to say I'm measuring from the center to the center, and we can kind of see we made that 5/8 of an inch, 0.625 earlier. So that means the travel, if I go from this side to that side, will be 5/8 times 2, or 1 1/4 inches. So we're going to use that now when we create this next part. So let me escape out of this. Let's go back in. I had already kind of started that sketch, so don't need to create a new one. Let's just go down here to our timeline, right click, edit sketch to bring it back up. And now I'm going to be able to create this slot. So, and we're going to say center to center. Now I'm going to go center this way over, and we said that this was going to be 1.250 or 1 1/4 inches, but we want to allow a little bit of clearance there. If we're there and we're right at 1.25, we could potentially bind up in there depending on how things are made. So we're going to add a little bit of clearance. So we're going to make this 1.260. 1 inch 260 thousandths. That's allowing about 10 thousandths clearance or 5 thousandths per each side of that rotation. So I'll go ahead and click enter there, and now it wants to come in now and do the actual width of the slot. Now we could do the same thing. We know that that's a 1/4 inch dowel pin, but we want to allow some clearance here, so we're going to go to 0.260 on this as well. So, and I'll create that. Now, at the same time, we're going to offset this. So let's come back. I'm going to offset this outside. So this is going to be 100, and we're going to make this 1/8 of an inch on our thickness here. So let's go ahead and go 0.125. So, and enter. So that sketch is finished. So now, when we go to extrude this, be careful, because notice we're overhanging a little bit on the outside of the circle here. So make sure when you go to extrude this, let's finish the sketch, that you select all of those areas. So let's extrude, just go ahead and capture the position. Make sure that you get everything. So I got to make sure I click on that, click on that. So come over here, and I'm going to click on that to make sure I get the whole feature. All right. And again, so we're going to extrude this out. So we've got those kind of coming in. So we're going to extrude this out. Oh, it messed up on me. So let's just try this again. Not a big deal. Go back to the extrusion. We'll capture the position. So make sure we're selecting this one, and this one over here. If you can't get to it, kind of move around so you get there. There's that one as well. And we're going to pull this out now. Now, I can pull this out. In this case, we want to be 0.75. So we're going to say 0.750 on this. On the operation, if we join this, it's going to be connected to the cam. So we want a new component here as well. So let's go ahead and create that. Hit OK. So we've got that part kind of tied into there. Now, one last thing. Let's go ahead and we're going to rename this. So I'll right click, rename. We're going to name this cam follower here. So, and that cam follower now, as we take a look at this, we still have some more work to do, because I got to put a couple of holes in this one as well. So I'm going to turn everything off now as far as the shutting the visibility off. So, and we're going to be left with just the actual cam follower itself. We'll quickly use the hole feature again. So I'm going to select this surface. So let's go ahead. In this case, we need to assign this positions. So I'm going to say I want to be from here, and we did this 3/4 of an inch, so half of that is going to be 0.375. And then we can say if we go off of the center, so or off of the edge with the other selection, so we also need to be aware of where that's going to be, or we could kind of pick different things here to place that as well. You could even come in here and start to kind of move this where you think you need it to be. So let's kind of put that in place. So let's kind of come in here. So we've got some different sizes here where we would know. We went 1 5/8 or 1 1/4 was the overall as far as the slot. So we can put this at 0.625, and that would be centering that in there. And of course up here, this would be 0.375, so we get that in the middle. We can also select off the end, so you got to kind of pay attention to where that's going to be center at. Now in this case, so we're going to go through all again, and our dimension here, the diameter of this, is going to be a 3/8 diameter pin for this. So we'll say OK. I've got that part ready. So we've got our cam follower. We're going to stop the video now, and I'll come back. Let's go ahead and turn these on so we can see where we're at, and I'll come back and we'll finish up in the third video.